So in this video we're going to create materials. Now we already have two materials on our character, which is kind of inconvenient because we can just make one, and having multiple materials on your character makes it less efficient. So yeah, I'm going to show you, even though we're not going to have any textures on our character, I'm going to show you how you can create one if you want it. We're going to use some vertex color and we're going to play around a little bit with math. I'm going to show you a few tricks there. It's not going to be a long video, but I think it is quite valuable. And once again, if you like those videos and you want me to continue them, please consider supporting me on Patreon. If you can't, I would also appreciate if you could subscribe, like, and share the video, you know, the typical things. So now next, we are going to work on the material. You might think, oh, but we already had our materials. Nope, this was just a preview thing, so we're just going to like grab those. We don't need those on the ear as well. So we're going to make actually just one material. First of all, we need a way of showing black and white. I think the easiest way to do this is with vertex color. If we go into edit mode or just press tab, we have vertex paint. In vertex paint, you can just, well, paint on the vertices, give the individual vertices color. If you go to the workspace area here, you have just color, whatever, you can just paint red or green. But the thing is, you're not going to see it because we don't show the vertice color. You have to go over here into solid and then we actually see it. If you don't see it, well, not a big deal. We're going to show it anyway because we go into the material now, the newly created one here, right? And we delete this principal shader here, Shift A, and type in vertex color, and we just connect this, select our vertex color we just created over here. We created a vertex color by just painting on it. We could also manually create the vertex color in this tab here. You can see it in here. This gets created. I can delete it again as soon as I paint. You can see it's getting created. So meaning the logical way to do this is just press plus. Okay, we have a vertex color. We can paint now, but it's just automatically creating this for us. We want to just simply make it black and white for the eye. In order to make this perfect, we just go into edit mode. And I kind of forgot where I had my eye originally, so I'm going to just reopen my file here. Delete those materials. It's kind of, let me go into edit mode here, and I'm going to just select the eye first of all. Both sides, loops in a region, and there we go. And now I just go back into object mode. I'm going to delete the materials, create a new one. And we call this or just dark creature. So let's delete the material here over here as well. All right, we have our material here. Then we delete the node, Shift A, vertex color. So now we have everything set up. Now we want to paint. Let's go edit mode. We have this still selected. Okay, let's go vertex paint. And up here we have a mask, so we can just check this mask here, and then we can paint only where we have things selected. I want this to be white, this is just fine, so I want to make the rest black. We can just press Ctrl I and the other thing will be selected. We can make this black, and I have this on Q, set vertex color, but it's also in here under paint, set vertex color. There we go. And we're basically back to where we were. But with the difference, we have only one material, like we should have multiple materials to make things performance heavier. And we should probably select our vertex color in here. So now we're going to select the ears and we're going to put the same material on here, dark creature. And we don't have any, you can see this is red, we don't have any vertex color on here. So meaning we have to go into vertex paint and just simply make this black as well. So, and it created a vertex color on the ears as well. In your end, it's going to be one object, so make sure those have the same name. If you don't change it, it should have just simply the same name. So, while I don't want to add anything more to this character, because this character is going to be a silhouette character, I just want you to be aware with a nice UV, you could, in theory, texture things now. Like I did it earlier, you could just put in, I don't know, a noise texture, or just create an image texture, and create a new image. That's whatever. It's just, I'm not going to say this anyway. So no alpha. We could connect this. It would be black completely. You could create a UV, put the UV in here, connected F with a node wrangler. You can select the UV, tab, texture paint. And if you really want it, you could now go to the workspace area here and just paint on there. Or not. Okay, interesting. I have multiple selected, that's why I cannot paint on it. Yeah, you can only have one selected. No, could paint on it. You can see a few pixels. This is because it's only a 1K texture. You could also go edit mode. You could select your eye again here, loops in the region, tab, vertex paint, texture paint, and you could enable the mask up here and you could make it white. Now you clearly see a downside of using textures here. This is why I'm going to use my vertex color, right? Because it's just absolutely straight. Or I don't know, you could paint some other things on there, disable the mask and thing. I don't know, but I don't want anything of that. But one thing I want to at least try, if I'm not going to use it, it's at least in the tutorial here. I want to create a fresnel. Now If we press search and type in fresnel, we get a fresnel and stuff, which is nice and dandy. It's automatically a fresnel. Now I don't like using that. I like doing my own fresnel. This is actually pretty easy. Let's just make a geometry and let's make a vector math node. Vector math. There are two different ones. You have to use the vector math because we are using vectors over here. You can see purple vectors. And I want to connect the normal and the incoming. Normal, in very quick terms, if you want to understand this properly, just take a look at my Genshin video where I explain this in high detail. You can enable your normals here and you can see a lot of lines pointing at something. And I'm just going to compare the normal, those lines, with the incoming, which is the camera vector. So wherever I'm looking from, I'm comparing it. So meaning wherever they look more into my view, it's going to be brighter. We need to change this to dot product, then we're comparing it. And you can see we get a fresnel. In the middle where they point more to my camera, it's going to be whiter. On the edge, it's going to be darker. So now we got a fresnel here. I might want to adjust it. Now, usually people use a color ramp, right? But this is not a thing. This is not an actual thing in game engines. So what we have to do is use our math node, and I just want you to be aware that we're only working with black and white values here. So we don't need RGB values. We only need the gray output, which is one channel. If we're using the yellow channel, RGB, we're using 3 channels. So 3 times the power, basically. And when we're only working with the gray one, with only one channel, it's much more efficient. And as soon as we would use a color ramp, we would get our RGB channel. So we don't really need this. Either way, we're going to connect it to a math node here, and we're going to use power. Power is kind of like a multiply. So it will make things quite a bit sharper in relation to like the dark part. So it will not like shift as much. I think I want the white outside. So we just simply can invert this. And I'm going to put the invert in front of here. All right, there we go. And we can see we can now shift this pretty nicely. I want it pretty weak, like something like this. Now the white is definitely too much for me. I don't want it to be that bright, so we can just simply copy the math node here and change this to a multiply. Plug this in here, and we can lower the multipliers. 1 would be the default value, right? If you multiply anything with 1, it's going to be the same value. So 50 times 1 is still 50. And if we lower this, it's going to be less. And you can see we can get rid of some of the white. I want this to be, if I use it, very soft. Now we need to combine it with our eyes, right? And usually most people use what I really find fascinating are mix shader. Don't ever do this. The mix shader barely has any use. This is totally dumb. The next step would be a mix RGB, which is kind of reasonable and the proper thing to do things. You can just you would plug in the fresnel as a mix vector. With that you can decide which color, where you have which color. Now it's barely noticeable because of the mix RGB, but if I drag this a bit up, you can see we're getting the green here. Let me go a step back, and I guess you could just make this white if you really wanted to, and plug this into the other color here, and you would get your result, the result we desire. But like I said earlier, we're using 3 channels here, which we don't really need. We really don't need this. We just need black and white. So we're going to use math to do that. And all we really want is make the eye white, right? And since the eye here is white, 1, we can just simply add it. So add a 1 to the black. If we just do this, voila, we get the same result, but only using 1 channel. So I'm not so sure if I'm going to use it for now. It's just something I wanted to do here to show off. Eventually I'm not using it. We'll see. Because it's kind of removing the whole point of the silhouette, right? Like no shading at all. But let's save this for now. And yeah.